Hi there, I'm Timothy Linsdau, video producer, Christian, a Kiwanian, and a Boy Scouter. Keeping busy in my so-called retirement. So what's going on today? Is Mexico actually building Trump's wall? Well, what is this with Trump's wall? He had that in his campaign that he was going to build a wall and Mexico was going to pay for it. Well, there's a story here that Mexico may have paid for a wall. Well, what's that about? Well, recently, hundreds of migrants have waded across the river in Mexico's southern border and to have been stopped from entering Mexico on their way to the U.S. by the Mexican National Guard. Now, that National Guard is something new. These migrants, mainly from Honduras, Central America again, after being refused permission to cross a nearby bridge, decided to rush the border across this river. Nothing new here. Living only a couple miles from the Mexican border here, there's numerous times when groups have rushed the border, quite common. In the today with the asylum issue, many of them will cross in mass, 100, 200, and surrendering and asking for asylum. Well, these people are hearing this stuff, so on they come, thinking they're just going to be not a problem. Mexico's security forces have fired tear gas to force migrants back, rounded up those who managed to make it across. Mexico has cut off immigration routes to the U.S. under pressure from President Donald Trump. National Guard troops with riot shields were seen trying to stop the migrants from climbing the banks of the river, which marks the border between Mexico and Guatemala. Now, you may have noticed to use the word immigrant or migrant. Now, from what I can see in the dictionary, migrant is moving within the country and immigrant is from country to country. So I've noticed that the media has started to use the word migrant all the time for who turn out to be illegal immigrants. So the usual political propaganda back and forth. Nothing new there. Some of those who are trying to reach Mexico threw stones at the police. Well, nothing new there. The detained immigrants have been transferred to immigration stations, and they'll be returned to their home countries if the legal status cannot be resolved. That's what the Mexican government said. Doesn't sound a whole lot different than ours. Mexicans been camping out in town in Guatemala, waiting to cross the border. Some representatives of the immigrants were allowed into Mexico for talks with authorities and to pass a letter on to President Andres Manuel Lopez Obrador. Obrador is the new president since of Mexico, 1819. They urged him to let them pass and promised to respect the law. Well, you can claim asylum in Mexico, and if you can find a way to make a living, you can stay if they accept you. They were of a larger group, say 2,000 to 3,500 strong group dubbed the 2020 caravan, evoking previous attempts to cross Mexico en masse to reach the U.S. border, which the cartels have used by setting up their own travel system on buses, taking people from the border to the U.S. border, housing them in some place, and then letting them cross en masse. The whole thing was a setup to mass invasion, I guess you'd call it. But our own border system is not set up to take people by the thousands like that. Maybe they're a little more organized for that now, but geez. So many of the immigrants on the Mexico border said they were fleeing violence, poverty, and high murder rates. And that could be true. The problem is with the asylum laws are based on a country doing those things as a whole, not on the country's criminal activity. Yeah, they're desperate You can imagine uprooting and these people are carrying babies and kids with them, and how they're going to survive. It's all crazy. I think somebody's convinced them that they can just come right over. Mexico again has said they can stay and work in Mexico and apply for asylum, but will not be allowed free passage to the U.S. And that's a big deal. That means this pressure that Trump has put on Mexico, and with the wall, Mexico now has a National Guard they've put together, and it's patrolling the borders. And that's something the U.S. has wanted forever, to help control that situation. When I made the film on Otay Mountain on the border, the immigrants were getting attacked by bandits and all kinds of horrible whatnot. And maybe that National Guard can help control some of this. Some of the immigrants said, well, they're trying to trick us. They tell us to register, but then they deport us. Well, I'm sure that argument goes on forever. The Mexican Interior Ministry said that it had already taken in 1,100 immigrants in the states of Chiapas and Tabasco. Most were to be returned to their country of origin if the situation warrants it. Trump reached a deal with Mexico in June to stem the flow of immigrants to the U.S. after threatening it with high tariffs. You may be familiar with what the tariffs have done for our business, which has greatly increased. Another agreement with Guatemala designates that country as a safe third country. Under the accord, the U.S. can send immigrants from Honduras or El Salvador who pass through Guatemala back to that country to seek asylum first. So, Mexico has agreed to take unprecedented steps to curb irregular immigration, including deploying the National Guard. Wow. Trump has made the fight against illegal immigration to the U.S. a major policy issue and has taken measures to deter entry across the border from Mexico, including plans for the border wall. And on it goes. The President of the United States, as our government, is charged by the Constitution to protect us from danger from enemies outside and enemies within the country. So it's always raged on, and he's making a very valiant effort, if you will, building the wall, which I have seen some of the new wall and in some of the video. I'll show you a photo of that and how that has gone on. Now, what's the story of Mexico's National Guard? Because this is something new for them. It hasn't always existed. Well, they recognize that their situation is severe, not only due to the current levels of criminal violence, but also because they don't have the members to fight this insecurity. Their local police, I've been told, the articles I've read, are corrupt, and makes it very hard for them to accomplish anything. Obrador, from what I understand, is pretty conservative and has tried to deal with the cartel violence that's gone on in Mexico. Says governments have spent 20 years trying to train federal police. It's not been possible, to quote the president, because they are corrupt. And the Army instead is an institution that has more professionalism and antiquity, some longevity. Before his election last year, Obrador, the president, had initially campaigned on a promise to break from the policies of his predecessors and pull the military off the streets. But shortly after taking office in 2018, Obrador proposed the formation of the National Guard under military command as a response to an increasingly destructive situation. According to local reports, the first quarter of 2019 had already been the most violent in Mexico's modern history. Nearly 8,500 people were murdered in the first 3 months of the year. And that's the kind of stuff we hear in being on the border here in San Diego. Recently, an American couple, maybe Mexican-American couple, I'm not sure, went down to Mexico because they owned rental property in Tijuana, ended up dead, murdered. It's a terrible thing. So hopefully the National Guard helps. It's made up of Mexican Naval Police and Mexican Army Police and Federal Forces. Let's hope they have some success with it. It does put up a wall on their southern border to stop immigration coming across Mexico into the U.S., which means some sort of wall ended up being built by Mexico and paid for by Mexico. Terrific. God bless them. God bless the United States of America. So thanks for watching. Like and comment on my video. Subscribe to my channel. And get out there and learn what you can and make it a great day.